been appointed as he has also been appointed as a centenary chair professor at the Banaras Hindu University on its attaining 100 years. Professor Ravi Prakash has hosted and convened many international and national seminars, webinars, and online workshops. His topic for today is a very important topic, and it's very relevant. If you look at the way the world is going today, and we look at the Satyat Prakash, the light of truth, and the teachings of Swami Dayanand in there, then we will appreciate that it is so relevant today. I am now going to hand you over to Professor G, who will take us through his topic. Professor G.
Thank you, Pandita Aarti ji, Pandita Usha Devi Prasad ji, Ashwini Rajpal ji from Canada, and my other brothers and sisters from South Africa and other countries attending this lecture today. As announced by Pandita ji, I have been given a topic on the value of light of truth in 21st century. As we know, Satyarth Prakash is the magnum opus by Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati. And this book contains around 5,000 references from 3,000 texts, ancient Indian texts. I think this is the biggest ever reference source created in Kali Yuga in 19th century. And today we are living in 21st century, and this 19th century book, which has no personal opinion of Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati, but entirely based upon the opinions of the Vedas and Vedic seers, right from Brahma till Jaimini, the Vaisheshik philosopher. So this now the Purvamimamsa author, Jaimini is the author of Purvamimamsa. So this way we can think, if this Satyarth Prakash is the essence of the Vedic texts, is the essence of the Vedic philosophical texts. If one is able to understand Satyarth Prakash, I think he will be able to understand the Vedic philosophy, the true face of Hinduism, what we call today Hinduism. If you are able to understand Satyarth Prakash, we are able to understand the entire Vedic culture and civilization in its essential form. So the very name Satyarth Prakash was given by Swami Dayananda, and its translation is being done by everybody as a light of truth. In fact, this is not the actual translation of Satyarth Prakash, because if the translation has been light of truth, its name should have been Satya Prakash, Prakash of Satya, or light of truth. But the title is Satyarth Prakash, means this book sheds light on the true meanings. Why Maharshi Dayananda gave this title? Because even today also, what to say about the 19th century India, even today also, when so much awakening is there, we are not able to understand the Vedic concepts in their actual form, in their actual essence. For example, I'll give you the example of one word, dharma. Dharma is a word, and everybody translates this dharma as a religion. In fact, dharma is not a religion. The Vedic dharma is not a religion. Vedic dharma is the set of ethical, moral values, the knowledge system, the duties of human being towards their family, towards society, towards nation, towards the humanity at large. So this is known as dharma. But today we translate dharma as a religion, where religions are the sects. They are different mata and matantaras, as Swami Dayananda translate in during 19th century. These are the different sects. So religion is a different from sect. And in medieval period in Europe, there arose a phrase that religion and science cannot go together. But here, the dharma and science are the same thing. Dharma and science will go together. That is why Maharishi Dayananda, and even you leave religion, you leave dharma, several other concepts are there. Yajna. Yajna, everybody is translating yajna as a sacrifice. Whereas the main thing is that there is no corresponding word into any European language for dharma, for yajna, for papa, punya. So many technical terms, Vedic technical terms are there, which cannot be translated into another languages. Yes, they can be defined and understood as it is, just like Purushartha is there. So all such things. Why Maharishi Dayananda had to write Satyarth Prakash? We must understand this fact. Because in 19th century India, we forget everything, because Vedic system, Vedic philosophy was scientific one, and we forget the science behind our concepts, our traditions, and some mythics. Mythology was associated with each and every aspect. Even the European scholars, they started saying mythology of Vedas, mythology of Hindus, mythology of Puranas, like that. These type of words were used. And we also accepted them as true. And we started thinking that we have all myths around in our philosophy, culture, and civilization. But it was not so. That is why Swami Dayananda had to make an effort to shed true lights, to shed actual lights on the actual concepts of the Vedas. He elaborated all those concepts in the Satyarth Prakash, and the book was titled as Satyarth Prakash, Light on True Meaning of Hinduism, we can say, or light on true meanings of the Vedas, Vedic culture and philosophy. So this was the intention behind writing this book. Now, if we talk about the relevance of Satyarth Prakash, so how a book will be relevant? If a book or a concept is relevant, if it has still its importance, and if it is able to define the society, to guide the people in that today also. So whenever some concept, whenever some philosophy, it becomes outdated. Outdated means its usefulness is no longer there, then it becomes irrelevant. But the usefulness of Satyarth Prakash is still today, because we need to understand all the concepts of Vedic philosophy in right earnest. Until we are not able to understand Vedic philosophy in proper way, we will not be able to propagate it. We will not be able to advocate it in right perspective, and the people and the humanity at large, they will be deprived of the universal and scientific value system of the Vedas. So if we start Satyarth Prakash, we just see the first chapter. The very first chapter has been devoted by Swami Dayananda in explaining the names of the god. Different names have been given. In fact, the European scholars, they created a confusion, misconception, and they started saying the Indians have so many gods and goddesses. Some 33 crore gods and goddesses are there in Indian religion, and they called it as henotheism. So, but the Vedas, they always talk about monotheism. There is one single God, and one single God, due to his various qualities, properties, is known by various names. And this was illustrated by Swami Dayananda here in the first chapter. In Rigveda itself, we find a mantra, Ekam Sad Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is one truth, the God is one, but the scholars call him by different names depending upon his different qualities. And similarly, there is another mantra, the mantra says, Indro Maya Bhi Pururupa Iyate. This God, due to his qualities, is described in variously by various words. So the concept that the Vedic philosophers or this India contains 33 crore of devatas and devis. So this was a wrong concept. In fact, the word koti has been used. Koti means, the word koti has two meanings. First meaning is crore. 1 crore is 10 million. So first meaning is 10 million and another meaning is kind, prakar. So 33 koti, God and goddesses means 33 kinds of God and goddesses. So this is the actual meaning, but we misinterpreted it and we started saying that the Vedic people, they used to worship many gods and goddesses, or some 330 million god and goddesses. So this was a wrong concept. Just to remove this confusion, Maharishi Dayananda had to write the first chapter itself. And in this chapter, he describes very beautifully some more than 100 names of the God. And he says that all these names, they are going to express some quality or another quality of that God. So these are not different deities. These are not different devatas, but devas or devis, but these are the name of the one and the same God, so far as the metaphysical meaning of the Vedas is concerned. And the question is, why Swami Dayananda wrote first chapter explaining the names of the God? In Indian tradition, in Vedic tradition says that whatever you do, you start with the recitation of the name of God. Just like when this seminar was started, Usha Devi Prasad Pandita, she recited Gayatri Mantra. So similarly, whenever some work used to be done, the Vedic philosopher says, the Vedic tradition says that it should be started with the name of the God. So the two things were served by Swami Dayananda by writing the first chapter. Number one, he just chanted the 100 names of the God before writing this Satyarth Prakash, and at the same time he was able to explain that spiritually or metaphysically or on the plane of the Adhyatma, these names are the different names of the one and the same God. So the Hindus were given misconception, and till date they are understanding, they are living in that misconception. So the relevance of Satyarth Prakash is always there. Now, every mantra of the Veda, it has mentioned against it a name of a Devata. What is that Devata? So Devata means subject matter. If Vishnu or Agni is the Devata of some mantra, that means that the subject matter of that mantra is Agni or Vishnu. And it is said by Yaska, a Vedic scholar, he says, Deva eva devata. So devata means subject matter, and he says Deva eva devata. These devas are the subject matter of the mantra. So what is Deva? This is also a question. We always translate Deva. I am also saying God and goddesses, but the actual translation of Dev is not neither God or not goddesses. What is Dev? This must also be understood. So Dev, according to the Yaska himself, he says, Devu Danatava Dyotanatava Dyusthano Bhavatitiva. A Dev, either a person or any natural power which contributes, who do a person, if he does charities, he will be known as Deva. If a person just like Acharya, he imparts knowledge, so he is also Deva. Mother delivers a child, take care of the child, so she is also a Deva. A father protects the child, he is also a Deva. That is why the Upanishads say, Matri Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Similarly, sun gives us sunlight. That is also a Deva. Devo Danatava. Whoever contributes something to the nation, to society, to the human being, he will be known as Deva. Dyotanatava. The heavenly bodies which are illuminating in the sky, they are all known. All these nakshatras, all these stars, the planets, they are also known as Devas. Dyusthano bhavatitiva. And whatever is living in this celestial sphere, all these planets, stars, they are also Devas. And Dyotanas, who the God himself is also Deva, because he is illuminating, he is effulgent one, and he provides us everything. So all these things, whether the natural things are there in the nature, whether the Brahman is there, Paramatman is there, or whether the good human beings are there, they are all Devas. That is why Maharishi Dayananda did 3 types of translations of the Vedas. First one, he did the primary translation of Veda is Adhyatma, pertaining to the Atma and Paramatma. The second type of translation was done by Swami Dayananda as a scientific one, because the scientific translation belongs to the natural forces. So many natural forces have been described by these names. And third one, he has translated, or he has represented all the translations of the mantra. In all the translations, he is talking about the socio-political translation also, because in society, the good human beings who are contributing for the upliftment of the society, for the human beings, they are also as the Devas. That is why some of the Devatas in the mantras, as per the Bhashya or commentary of Swami Dayananda, Vidwan is also a Devata, father, mother, they are also a Devata. The commander has also been described as the Devata. The ruler has been also described as the subject matter. Devata means subject matter. Devata is not a Dev. Dev can be the Devata. Means any Dev can be the subject matter of the Vedas. But a Devata is subject matter, Devata cannot be the Dev. We must understand this fact. So this type of clarities Swami Dayananda give through his books, whether it is Sanskar Vidhi, whether it is Rigvedadi Bhashya Bhumika, Satyarth Prakash, Vyavhar Bhanu, whatever, some 33 books have been composed by him. So all these books contains these things. And now coming to the second chapter, Maharishi Dayananda devotes the second chapter to the upbringing of a child, because just to give birth to a child is a very simple thing. But just to give good sanskaras, just to uh, develop a child as a good human being, that is most difficult work. And that is why the second chapter, because if you are living in a society, good society, then good human beings are required. Today also this is very much relevant. You cannot live in a society where terrorists are there, where the looters are there, where the thieves are there, where the teachers are there. Only a good gentry you can live in. So every chapter of Satyagraha has its relevance, not to this century, 21st century, but the years to come, in the millenniums to come. So even when so long as this universe will survive, this book will have its relevance, and this book talks about the Shashwata principle, the Sanatana principle, the eternal laws of the nature. So the eternal laws, they never become irrelevant, they are always relevant. So second chapter was devoted by him to the upbringing of a child, how to upbring a child so that he may develop himself, or he may become a good human being. Because as per Vedic philosophy, we know the Vedic philosopher says that Janmana jayate shudraha sansakarair dvijuchyate. Everybody is born as a Shudra from the womb of his mother. When he is given the sanskaras, he becomes a Dvija. Dvija means twice born. First of all, a child takes birth from the womb of his mother, and his second birth takes from the womb of his Acharya. So Acharya is his second mother who gives him, or who makes him the Dvija, who makes him twice born. The second birth is given by Acharya when he gives him the sanskar of education, sanskar of knowledge. So that is most important, and that is why a student is known as the Antevasi of Acharya. Antevasi means who lives or who resides in the womb of the Acharya. That student, you just imagine how much importance was given to the education. And you know what education we are today imparting, that is a different type of education. I'll come to this topic on the when I will deal with the third chapter. So upbringing, giving sanskar, that is most important. In Shatpat Brahmana, the Yajnavalkya says, Dveva imah prajah manushi Daivyascha. There are two kinds of progenies. One is Manushi, human progeny, another is Daivi progeny. Kata Manushi prajananat prajayate. Chandansi vai Daivi prajaha tan ish mukhato janayate. The human creation, the human progeny is born through the sexual intercourse of the mother and the father. But Chandansi vai Daivi prajaha, when a divine progeny is created, that is through the chandas, through the knowledge, imparting the knowledge of the Vedas. And it says, Tanish mukhato janayate. And those divine progeny is created by Acharya through the words of his mouth. He imparts that knowledge to the student, and that a human being, a human child, becomes a divine child, the divinity. He becomes transformed one, and he becomes a divine one. So this was the system. And we can imagine even a simple person, even a person who's not much illiterate, he will understand that the good sanskar, the sanskar of the education, the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, as well as this mundane knowledge, is quite important. And if a person is devoid of these sanskaras, he is as better as an animal. He cannot be called as a human being, because in Vedas, a human being has also been described as Jantu, Pashu, because if you have not attained any sanskar, you cannot be called as a human being. That is why there is not one sanskar. The Vedic philosophy talks about 16 sanskaras. And that is why Maharishi Dayananda had to write the sanskar vidhi also, because the Vedas, they talk about sanskar, and if we are not able to know about those sanskar, then how a human being will be transformed into a divine being? That is 16 sanskaras are there, right from the birth till death. The sanskaras at every step have been described. What is this sanskar? Sanskar is the processing of a human being. Processing of a human being for his transformation into the divine being. That is sanskar. And Ayurveda says, Gunantara Dhyanam Sansakaram Uchyate. When good qualities are inculcated into a student, then that the inculcation of those good qualities, that knowledge system, that is known as sanskar. So the second chapter is very much relevant today, and it will also remain relevant in future also. The third chapter deals with the education system. You just imagine, we are all getting education today. In a university also, we are giving education today. But why Maharishi Dayananda emphasized upon education? Because education was always given. But the main thing that was missing in the education system, that Vedic education system, which is not available, or which was not available by the time of Swami Dayananda. That is why he introduced this chapter, the third chapter. After a good upbringing of a child, you will have to educate him. You know, every human being is made of three constituents. Number one, body. Number two, mind. And number three, soul. Today, whatever education is given, that education is given for the body education. But if we want a fully developed human being, or overall advancement of a human being, progress of a human being is required, then all the three types of education is required. Education for body, education for mind, and education for soul. Today, the education for soul is missing. Education for the mind is missing, and we have confined ourselves to only one type of education, and that is the education of the body. How to fill this body, how to earn money and feed this body. That is only the primary objective of the education. But in Vedic period, feeding the body was not the primary objective of education, because body is not the primary constituent of this human being. Body is the secondary constituent, and primary constituent is the Atma. So for the elevation, everything, why we are doing all these things in Vedic system? For the elevation of the Atma, so that this Atma may not get embodied as a human being, or it may not go down and embodied as some animal being, as some plant, as some lower creatures. So the elevation of Atma was must, and the elevation of the Atma will take place when you are going to give him that right education for the Atma. And in Ishavasya Upanishad beautifully says, Asuryanam te loka andhena tamasa vritaha tanste pritya vigachanti ye kecha atmahano janaha. The mantra says, Ishavasya Upanishad is the 40th chapter of the Yajur Veda, and that mantra says, Ye kecha atmahano janaha. Generally, the people translate. I am giving that translation first. The people translate, the scholars translate, the persons who commit suicide, atmahano janaha. The persons who commit suicide, they go to the lokas which are covered with the darkness. But this is not the true translation of this Ishavasya Upanishad mantra. Here the Atmahano Janaha are those people who are not giving the value education to their Atma. If you are not giving the right food to your Atma, then what will happen? This Atma, you are killing your Atma. This killing, Atma never dies, but killing means you are not feeding that Atma the right food, the right education. If you are not doing that, so that is known as Atmahantaha, a person who is killing his Atma. And what will happen? Such persons who are not giving the right education or right food to their Atma, what will happen? Kata Asuryanam te lokaha. There are certain species, not a lok is nothing, but the species of living beings which are darkened with the ignorance, which have no knowledge. And what those species are? All these lower animals, lower beings, lower than human beings, they are all such species which are darkened with ignorance. They have no knowledge system. All these animals, birds, plants, small insects, and all these things, they are those lower species. And the mantra clearly says, Asuryanam te loka andhena tamsa vrita tanste pretya vigatsanti yeke cha atmano jana. The people who are not elevating their souls, who are not giving right education to their soul, after death, they will achieve those species in their future lives. And what is the food of Atma? In Manusmriti, very beautifully, even in Satyarth Prakash Maharshi Dayananda quoted that mantra, that shloka, Adhir Gatrani Shuddhanti, Manah Satyena Shuddhati, Tapo Manah Satyen Shuddhati, Tapo Vidya Tapo Bhutatma. Means after this body can be purified by taking bath, this mind is purified by sticking to the truth, and this Atma can be elevated by Vidya, by feeding the knowledge, true knowledge, the knowledge of the Vedas, and Tapaha. What is Tapaha? Through Yoga Sadhana. So the right food for the Atma, the right knowledge for the Atma is Vidya, that the knowledge of the Shastras, knowledge of the Vedas, and Tapaha. Tapaha means yoga abhyasa, practice of the yoga and samadhi, meditation, all those 8 angas, yama, niyama, asana, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, they are all essential for this Atman, for the elevation of Atman. And that is why in this chapter, Maharshi Dayananda has, in the 3rd chapter, he has given the full syllabus, what to be taught and what not. Because the primary objective of the Vedic seers was the elevation of the soul, and not just to feed the belly or the stomach, because even the animal beings, they are able to feed themselves and survive. So feeding the body is not a great thing, what we are considering today. And our whole objective is just feeding the body itself. So, and for this entire system, the Purushartha, the word Purushartha was given by the Vedic seers to us. What is this Purushartha? Purush means soul, and Artha means objective. The objective of the soul, or the objective of the human life. So objective of the human life has been defined, and no other civilization in the world, no other scientist in the world could define the objective of the human life, because the human life is very important one, and this is the most prominent thing in this universe. But that objective has been defined or clearly described by the Vedic seers. What is that objective? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. When we do daily sandhya and we recite that one line, dharma artha kama mokshanam sadhyah siddhir bhavinnaha. Means let us attain dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So what is dharma? Dharma means knowledge system, proper knowledge, moral, ethical values, the knowledge of the soul, the knowledge of the mind, knowledge for mind, soul and body, that is required, that is known as dharma. And after attaining dharma, you will be attaining artha. Artha means the means for living this life, whatever means, whether they are physical or spiritual, those means will be gathered by us according to the dharma. Then kama, fulfillment of our spiritual desire, mundane desires based upon that dharma itself, and lastly is to attain moksha. So this is the whole system. This is the whole guideline was given by the Vedas to the human beings, and that is why whole Vedic system is centered around this. This is centered around this framework, and if you try to cross this framework, you will be a misguided lot. And that is why Satyarth Prakash tries to define that framework so that you may not be out of the boundary, you remain within those confinements, and you achieve the objective of the human life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So after a person, if a person is become well educated so far as his atma is concerned, so far as his or her body is concerned or mind is concerned, then he will be able to step into grihastha ashram, married life. So the next chapter, it's a stage-wise development of human life, and the stage-wise chapters have been given, devoted by Maharshi Dayananda, as that chapter has been, fourth chapter has been devoted to grihastha ashram, because this grihastha ashram is the basis of all ashramas. All ashramas, they are surviving due to the grihastha system. And what is grihastha system? That must have to be known, because griha, the word griha, is the very basis of the grihastha, means grihastha, who is living or who is abiding in griha. What is so griha? How the grihastha ashram will be achieved? The Vedic seer says, grihini grihamuchyate. Grihini grihamuchyate. If you are getting married to a wife, then that wife is the griha. And grihastha ashram means living a married life. So today's society, we know that the people have become misguided lots, and they are not living. There are so many issues are coming, and this issues of homosexuality and all these things, they are going to be verified or sanctioned or supported even by the governments, even by their samvidhanas, even by their constitutions. But that is wrong. Why a married, what is the purpose of the marriage? Purpose of the marriage is to create progeny. There is no purpose for getting enjoyment or in this carnal enjoyments and all these things. It's not the purpose of the married life. Purpose of the married life is to create progeny, and if that purpose is not going to be sold by other types of marriages, that is wrong. And in this grihastha ashram also we'll find that 8 types of marriages have been defined. And beyond those marriages, system of marriages, if you go for marriage, that is the wrong one. And all those 8 systems are also not so good. It has included all the bad and good ones, starting from Brahma Vivaha to Arsha, Asura, Gandharva, Rakshasa. So many things have been defined over there. So this chapter is also very much relevant in present day context. Somebody asked me a question, suppose if we get married and we are not getting progeny, so that is not a problem due to some medical reasons or some other problems. If you are not getting progeny, that never means that your married life has become defiled. This getting progeny is the one objective, but supporting the other ashramas, that is the another objective of the grihastha life, because only in grihastha life you can do charities, you can do dana. In Rig Veda, in other all Atharveda also, we find dana stuti mantras where charity has been eulogized, have been appreciated. And in Bhagavad Gita also says yajna dan tap karma na tyajyam. You can leave anything, but you should not leave three things: yajna, dan, and tapaha. Tapaha means it's not penance. Tapaha means yoga abhyasa. Dan means charity, and yajna doing daily. Panchamaha yajnas doing daily, and that is the nitya. That is the daily duty of a human being. So the grihastha ashram, Maharshi Dayananda has defined. And after, because this ashram, why the ashram system was made? Ashram system was also made for the elevation of human life, because after, if you live in the brahmacharya ashram, you get all moral, ethical values, knowledge system, what is required for your survival as a good human being and for your elevation as a divine being. After that, the next step, because every human being cannot become a sannyasi from the very beginning. So the gradual upliftment is required. In Yoga Darshan says, when Patanjali describes the purpose of the creation, the God created, why the God created this universe, what was the purpose behind it. So that purpose has been defined by Patanjali in Yoga Darshan, and the purpose is Bhogapa Vargaratham. This creation was created by God for the Bhoga and Apavarga of this human being or the soul. What is Bhoga? Bhog means enjoyment, you can say, and this bhog can be done through the sense organs. We know in this whole universe, in this whole creation, there are panchabhutas. There are 5 types of bhutas: Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, and Akash. And this human body, only this human body has been given the 5 sense organs. Just these 5 sense organs are the equipments to receive these 5 elements of the universe. So we have these 5 sense organs, so that through these 5 sense organs, we can enjoy these 5 bhutas provided by Brahman in this universe. So the bhoga, we can do bhoga, because if you are able to see something beautiful through your eyes, that is also the bhoga of eye. If you are able to hear something, that is the vibrations of the universe, that is also the bhoga you are doing through your ears. So the Patanjali says that this whole universe has been made for the bhoga of this Atman, so that we enjoy it. And what will happen after, if you do excess enjoyment, ultimately what you will understand, that this natural and this prakriti, these all material things are nothing. They are all the cause of pain and pleasure for us. Just like Mahatma Buddha, he realized this whole sarvam sarvam idam khalu dukkhatmakam, means this whole material things, they are just for giving us pain. And then the human being realizes to get rid of that pain, and when this realization will come, he will proceed towards moksha. So the first brahmacharya, just to tell you everything, then the grihastha, okay, you do bhoga also of this prakriti, and after that you start deviating yourself, you start going away from this bhoga aspect, and a human being will reside after his grihastha ashram. When he will have grandchildren, he will go to a nearest secluded area, he will reside over there, do yoga abhyas, and try to revise his knowledge gained by him in brahmacharya ashram. So that is the vanaprastha. And after vanaprastha, when a person becomes, he is able to redeem all his objective and redeem the real knowledge, then he becomes fit for sannyasa. Sannyas means a peripatetic monk, and a sannyasi will be able to do nishkama karma duties. He will be able to do altruistic welfare duties because now he is well experienced and have good knowledge for that, proper knowledge for that. And that sannyasa ashram Maharishi Dayananda has devoted one of the chapters to this sannyasa ashram also. And these four ashramas, they are the ladder of a human life. Step by step you can elevate yourself. So all these things are very much relevant. They are today relevant, they will be relevant tomorrow, and they will be relevant till this creation ends, because the human beings will be the same, and their requirement will be the same, and the purushartha will be the same, because dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. This is whole system, uh, you know, uh, is there is a chain, step after step you are elevating yourself. So this whole system was defined, and in sannyasa ashram Swami Dayananda also says that there is no need, even Shastras say there is no need to pass through all the ashramas. When a person has developed detachment, vairagya, and that knowledge, he can immediately take a sannyas, even after brahmacharya ashram also, even after grihastha ashram also, even after vanaprastha. Vanaprastha, after vanaprastha it is there, but if a person has not developed enunciation, that type of enunciation, he cannot take sannyas even after vanaprastha also. He will remain confined to the vanaprastha ashram. So this is for the elevation of human life. So after that, Maharishi Dayananda, because every individual is a social being, and if an individual being is a social being, he will live in the society. For living in the society, you cannot live in a wild society, because we are human being, we are disciplined being, disciplined being. And for a disciplined being, you will have to abide by certain rules and regulations. Just like Maharishi Dayananda in the 10 principles of Satyarth Prakash, he has given so many things. Your freedom ends when the other person's interest starts. You सब लोग अपना उपकार करने में स्वतंत्र हैं, परंतु जब सबका कार्य है, सर्वहित का कार्य है, तब हम परतंत्र हो जाते हैं. We are not. So we are independent so far as our self-interest is served. But the interest of the entire society, wherever it will be served, we are not free. We are dependent. We cannot act freely, because we shall have to look after the others' interest also. So that system, how that discipline has to be there, and for that discipline in Patanjali, when describing the Ashtanga Yoga, he talks about that in the name of Yama and Niyama. Yama means social discipline, Ahimsa, Satya, and all these things are social, because when you will interact in a person in the society, you will have to be ahimsa. Because for self-interaction, for maintaining self, there is no need of ahimsa, satya, or all these things. But when a person interacts another people in the society, then these yamas are required. This is social discipline. And niyam is self-ordained discipline. So for these, because a human being will live in the society, and just to attain the objective of the life, those purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So a certain type of society, a certain type of system is required. Why? Because that system should support all these things. And if this system, this dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, this purushartha is not supported by the system you are living in, then you cannot achieve it. So a system has been introduced by Maharishi Dayananda, and Raj Dharma. He gives there what is the duty of a king, how to maintain discipline in society, law and order in the society, that every human being, he finds opportunity to elevate himself as a divine being. In this society, in present day society, is this society of terrorism where the civilizations are clashing, where the nations are clashing with each other, where is always there is a fear of hydrogen bomb, this atomic bombs. You cannot do all these. You cannot achieve the purushartha, objective of the human life. Only the objective in present day society, as the science has told us, is the survival of the fittest. They say there is a clashes of civilization, there is a clashes of human beings, and the stronger human being, the stronger civilizations, they will survive, and the weaker, they are going to end up. But there is another philosophy comes from Buddhism. That philosophy says live and let live. You also live and let others also live. But the Vedic philosopher says live and help others to live. Because there are certain people in the society who cannot survive at their own. So the need is to help them. So Maharishi Dayananda, the objective of Maharishi Dayananda was to create a society and the nation as per the laws and instructions or directives given by the Vedas, where a human being can live peacefully and in a peace, atmosphere of peace, friendship, and fraternity, you can elevate yourself. That is why he devoted this chapter, this Sashtam Samullasa, that on Rajadharma and so many duties have been, so many things have been given. And because the time is coming closer, so I'm just trying to sum up all these things. And the next chapter he has devoted on Ishvara. Because you must be able to understand what is God. People are not able to understand the real concept of God. That is why they are become agnostic. So that is also because this creation, generally the scientists say this is a natural thing, it creates by itself. But we know from our experience and from the experiments also that nothing, if there is some creation, there has to be a creator. Nothing can be created itself. And this vast, this big creation cannot take place itself. So some higher authority is there, some supreme power is there who is governing all these things. So the concept of God, Maharishi then clarified. And why? And the next chapter he devoted is on the creation itself, because a owner is living in a house. So he in Bhagavad Gita, this house is known as Kshetra, and that owner is known as Kshetrajna, who knows that house. So if you are the owner of a house, so it is important for you to know about your house. What is, where are the windows, where are doors, where is the water system coming, where the air system is there, where the kitchen is there, then only you can operate that house, and where the leaking is, so that it may be repaired. And if you are such a owner that don't know about the house you are living in, so what sort of owner are you? So similarly, this Atman is the owner of, first of all, this man-made house is this house we have made. Then the second house, this Atman is having this body, this limited body. And the third house, this Atman is having this entire universe. So that is why Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures, the Shastra says, Atmanam Vidhi, know yourself, know your house, know your true nature. So if you are living in this nature, in this Prakriti, and you are not able to understand where you are living in, then how can you bhog? How can you do the bhog of it? How can you attain moksha? So for that knowledge, it is essential for a human being, for the owner to know the house he is living in, for the soul to know this creation, it has to enjoy, and after that it has to attain moksha. For that knowledge of this soul, for us, Maharishi Dayananda devoted the chapter on creation. Such a beautiful thinking. I do not know how the scholars are describing Satyarth Prakash, but I found in this book a great thing, and according which is quite very much according to the Vedic philosophy. You cannot, you cannot survive, you cannot attain the objectives of the human life if you are not given some direction, particular direction, and that direction has been given by Swami Dayananda. That is, he's a Vishwa Guru, he's a real Guru. He gives us the light. And the next chapter he devotes on Vidya, Avidya. What is Vidya? What is to be known, what is worth knowing, and what is not worth knowing. Whole chapter, and Bandha and Moksha. If you are living in Avidya, Avidya means in this material world, if you get involved yourself in material world, you will be in the bondage of life and death, bondage in this body. And if you are able to know the Vidya, the real nature of yourself, then you will get rid out of this system of life and death. And the next chapter he devotes in Achara and Vyavhara. You know, we have the knowledge, we have attained everything, we have passed through the ashramas, but if no human being can live without doing work, he will have to do, he will have to behave, he will have to act. So the proper behavior, the proper action, which will be conducive to attaining this Purushartha, that is also required. What type of that conduct, etiquettes, your attitudes, positive attitude, behavior should have been, that has been defined by Swami Dayananda in the last chapter known as Achara, Anachara, Vishaya. If you do not know how to conduct yourself, you cannot attain moksha. So this Satyarth Prakash is the guideline for the progress, for the elevation of a human being. It's not some renaissance or the social awakening. Yes, it is there, but that awakening, that renaissance is for the upliftment of the human being. He has given a particular way, the method, and all evidences has been deduced by him from 3000 Vedic texts. That's a beautiful one. And the most important thing, the last 4 chapters has been devoted by Swami Dayananda to the sects, not dharmas, to the sects prevalent by his time in this country and outside this country. And what was the objective of these writing these 4 chapters? He himself describes in Satyarth Prakash that I'm writing these chapters on these various sects. I want reformation in them, because if a sect is not going to be reformed, then it will not have the proper effect on the society, and a good society cannot be developed out of it. That is why he wanted the reformation of these sects. He never wanted that these sects should be abolished or eliminated, but a reformation is required, so that if you are living in a, if you are living in a good society, but other sects, they are creating problem for you, they will not be allowing you to achieve the objective of your life, so their reformation is required. Now what is happening everywhere, the interfaith dialogue is going on. Old faith, interfaith dialogue means all the sectarian persons, all the leaders of various sects, they come together and they do some agreements. You don't say about me, I won't say about you. I will keep on exploiting my folks, you keep on exploiting your folks, and that is how their purpose is going to be served. But Mahasi Dayananda was against it. He was not for the interfaith dialogue, he was for the faithless dialogue, because the biggest faith of humanity is, biggest faith is the humanity, the biggest faith is the dharma, where this all moral, ethical values, human values are there, then only the humanity can survive. That is why he devoted these 4 last chapters to the Satyarth Prakash. And there are some Smaji scholars, they want to say, okay, now there's no need for these 4 chapters, remove, because today also that reformation is required, even in Hindu dharma, even all other dharmas. So far as this reformation will not come, the humanity will suffer. These clashes will going on. These wars will going on. The people, the terrorists will be, getting birth at every nooks and corner of the earth. So the problem is that the real guidance, and that real guidance comes from Satyarth Prakash, and the real guidance is always relevant. It can never be irrelevant. So that is why from the beginning I am saying, so far as the humanity is going to survive on the earth, the Satyarth Prakash will have its relevant, because always the true meanings, the light on the true concepts will have to be set. So this Satyarth Prakash gives us the true face of the Vedic culture and civilization, and it also advocates about the transformation of the other sects. So Maharishi Dayananda was against all these sectarian vices. He was for dharma, he was for Veda, and Veda is the source of dharma. Vedo Akido Dharma Moolam. And even Purva Mimamsa Jaimini says, Chodana Lakshano Artho Dharma. What is dharma? He says the indirect meaning of the Vedas is dharma, because dharma flows from the Vedas itself, and that definition of dharma has been given by Kanad himself. Yato abhyudaya nishya siddhi sadharma. Because of this Vedic knowledge, a person gets progress, becomes advanced in his mundane life, and he attains moksha also. So due to that, if dharma is not there, that is why in Bhagavad Gita also says, Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Not that kshatriya dharma. Means this value system. If a human being has the value system, he will remain as a human being. Just like this is the dharma is the essence for your sustenance, for your survival. Just like the heat is the dharma of fire. If the heat is taken out of fire, then the fire is no more fire. If the coldness is taken out of water, then it is no more water. Similarly, if these good values, ethical values, moral values, human values, and this knowledge system is taken out of a human being, he will no longer be a human being, he will be an animal being. So that is why this system of knowledge, this system of Vedic knowledge, and the system that was created, the channel that was created by Satyarth Prakash to reach that system of Vedic knowledge is always eternal, always relevant. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much for such an enlightening talk. I think the 1 hour is not enough for us to have you. We need to have you for like half a day or maybe a day.
No problem. No problem.
Yeah, okay. Look, we would have had questions and answers, but I don't think we have time for that.
No problem.
What I am going to suggest, Professor G, is can we get you back on another day to address us?
Yes. So you decide.
Yes, we will decide, and we will talk to you before that, and we'll give you ample notice, like we need to give ourselves ample notice.
So the next session we can devote to the full question answer.
Yes, I think so.
That's not a problem. Any type of question answer, even outside Satyarth Prakash also.
Satyarth Prakash, thank you so much for that. That would be really good. And I also want to suggest, can we set up a center here for the Satyarth Prakash and other studies through you, through your chair?
No doubt, no doubt.
All right. So
actually, yes, recently also we have started some classes on Veda and Sanskrit language. And those classes are held every Saturday and Sunday. If some of your students or your seekers, followers of RS Mahas or other person are interested, they can also attend it.
Yes,
and you
please.
Set up the Center for Satyarth Prakash, and no doubt my service is always there, because I'm for Veda and for Rishi Dayananda. So Satyarthikas is one of my mission. That's not a problem.
Beautiful explanation. You've explained it so well, you know, chapter by chapter. I'm going to now say thank you very much, Professor G, for responding to our invitation and for addressing us. I'm going to now ask Pandit Usha Devi Prasad to please come through. Pandit Usha.
Atiji, sorry, she's dropped off. I think she might be having load shedding or blackouts.
Oh dear. Okay. All
if
right.
I could take this opportunity to inform everybody that the next session will be, we will send out the invitations, but RTG is going to discuss the final rites ceremony at that. So we'd like people to attend it. I think it's on, you've got the date there, RTG, if you could just share it.
It's on
And
the
then if you
17th
could-
of November, I think, yes.
That's right. And then if you could please close with Shantipat.
Acha. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending and for responding to our invitation. And we look forward to having you again next month on the 17th. I will now close with Shantipat. Om Dhyau Shantirantariksham Shantihi Prithivi Shantirapa Shantir Oshadaya Shantihi Vanaspatayah Shantir Vishwe Devaha Shantir Brahma Shantihi Sarvam Shantihi Shantir Eva Shanti Sama Shantir Edhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste and thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Good night.
Namaste.